Recently on my YouTube channel, I did a video about my Zelcore crypto wallet being hacked and all of my Flux being drained. Shortly after that, I worked with the Flux team, specifically their security team, to go through the process and find out what happened to my account. And today I sat down with Dan Flux. Wow. I sat down with Dan Keller, the CEO of Flux, and talked about what happened to my account, what you can do right now to stay safe, and what Flux is doing to improve their security going forward. I also want to apologize up front. The audio's pretty bad on this. Dan was not in the office with a really good internet connection and was on a mobile device, so bear with me. Dan Keller, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm happy you're able to come in and talk with me about Flux Zelcore, cybersecurity best practices, and how to stay safe in this crypto world.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you having me on, man. I know that, it's almost a tale as old as time. As soon as the bulls start moving, the bad people start moving too. So, which can be a challenge.
Yeah. So if anybody's unaware, I had my Zelcore wallet hacked and about 3,000, little over 3,000 Flux was drained. And I made a big to do about it, made a stink about it because I felt I was doing everything right. I felt I went through all the steps that were laid out there with username, unique password, the D2FA, and I still got wrecked. So Dan, we went into a little bit deeper investigation with your team, kind of behind the scenes and figuring out what happened. So what happened to my account?
Yeah, and I'm sorry that it happened to you like that because it does suck. But you're one of the very first people that have actually been interested in walking through the process to see exactly what happened. And in the end, I think you learned quite a bit of the
Mhm.
stuff we have to go through every day, and it can happen in so many different ways. And it's really super hard um, to hold your own custody. Like, the wonderful thing about blockchain and cryptocurrency is we are our own custodians. But with that being said, there's no takebacks. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if it's gone, it's gone. Like, so you have to make sure that you configure your system and everything um, the way that it should be, and then you never cross contaminate. That's the key.
Mhm.
Because most of and then as a matter of fact, I'll explain to you. Yours was actually, we believe, a state act, an actor. Uh,
Interesting. Okay.
they We see a lot from China. We see a lot of the North Koreans, Russians, and historically, what has happened is people, even though we caution them a million times when you're setting up your account, unique username, unique password, because what we do is we take the username and the password, we hash them together with a
Okay.
consult. That becomes your private phrase. That's so when you input that username into Zelcore, that's actually your private key that you're putting into your platform.
Mm.
Open it up because it's completely encrypted. Zelcore doesn't store any user information. We don't have usernames, passwords, logon credentials, nothing. Zero. We keep nothing, which is awesome. But it also is a challenge when you have situations like this where you have to kind of go back and look at what happened and try to figure it out. But a lot of what we're seeing now, especially with the market going up, is that people are actually using usernames. Either it's an email address, and by the
Mhm.
way, if there's anybody that's listening to this whose email address hasn't been compromised. So if your email address is sitting in your Zelcore right now, stop listening to this, and well, maybe you should listen to this and go change that, because what happens, and what we've really been seeing a lot of, is these major breaches where email and passwords are being compromised. And then what people do is they think they're safe because it's in Zelcore and it's encrypted, but it's a username and password. So they've used that username and password on a site that got compromised. That ends up on the dark web, and
Mhm.
they buy these things by the millions.
Mhm.
When I'm saying that, I'm like literally being serious. They buy these username and passwords by the millions. And then what they do is they create a web wallet. They take that username and that password and they basically brute force it, because at this point they've bypassed Zelcore. And you could do this with any wallet, really. If you have the seed phrase, you can do it to any wallet that exists, including ledgers. You can brute force these things. So what I tell everybody is we never use your computer that you're going to use your crypto wallet on for anything else. No
Mm.
surfing porn. And if you're listening to this and you know who you are, stop it, right? Go get a tablet if you have to. Um, no downloading wares. We see a lot of people that download these wares. They think they're getting something for free, and the next thing you know, it costs them $20,000 in crypto. And that's a proverbial fuck around and find out. So what I tell everybody is I have my personal setup initially was to shard. So it's basically to create an air gapped computer. So one that hasn't been connected to the internet. I do a fresh install of Zelcore. I set my account up completely. I connect it to the internet, let everything roll. And then I write down my username and password. Then I shard it. I actually take a pair and I cut. In my case, it was 10
Mm.
different, but you could do 5, you could do 3, and you shard those pieces. And then I got it's like a little portable, it's like EMP, fireproof.
Mm.
There's no way that there's anything getting to it. And some people like to use the metal seed phrase scenarios and do
Yeah.
them and split them up. I've had them both ways. I think I prefer the sharded way with the paper because I can get it to more places pretty easily. And I don't store it at home. So,
Mm.
I have a hot wallet, which has a few $1,000s in crypto in it. And that's what I use for my everyday, what I'm doing. And I have multiple cold wallets, all on Zelcore because Zelcore has not had issues in 8 years because people say, well, could Zelcore be hacked? The underlying premise of Zelcore is it uses higher deterministical wallets. HD wallets is what they're called, and that's what Bitcoin has used. It's basically they call it a brain wallet, and essentially you
Mm.
create that name and password, which is your seed phrase. You keep it in your head, and that's where it stays. So our HD wallets are built right off of literally blockchain. So, basically these HD wallets, if they were compromised, we'd have a bigger problem than just Zelcore because it would cascade across the blockchain.
Mm.
You know, Zelcore is unbelievably safe. SSP is unbelievably safe. Echo is unbelievably safe, but we cannot force you guys to use really truly unique username and password, and that's where we're seeing the issues. The other area where we're seeing major issues is these folks that are asking questions about something, and then somebody pops into your DMs and says, "Hey, no, I'm with support desk. I can help you here. Just let me walk you through the process."
Mm.
A good 70% of our breaches are almost always.
Really?
Yeah, and the problem is we have these new users coming into crypto.
Hmm.
My one son who's never been into crypto is ever DMs me yesterday and is like, "Hey, how do I, get some Bitcoin and Flux and yada yada yada?" It's like now he comes into the space, and if had he not had somebody to help him with understanding how to use wallets and stuff like that, he would have been subject to go into the community, which is not bad. I mean, our community helps well, but the problem is there's so many people that prey on the folks
Hmm.
that don't understand blockchain. And as you understand, you're highly educated in the space, and it still kind of snagged you in the end. So you really got to walk the process, and I really wanted to come on here and you and I kind of dusted it up a little bit at first, going back and forth, but that's how we learn. Like, so people are going to watch this, they're going to say, "Hey, this all makes sense to me. I need to have better practice here. I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my wallet, my crypto." Um, but it begs a bigger question. And as people need to ask questions about privacy and security, and not just security of the wallet per
Hmm.
se, but security of the entire platform.
For sure. And so what happened with me, I actually built this wallet originally in 2021, well before I was geek of all trades, and I was just getting into Flux and getting into mining and things, and it worked perfectly fine ever since then. Even when D2FA was implemented and initialized, is when I created that code, and it just worked ever since. And the username that I had was an email address that, through this process working with you and your team, I found out was pwned, which brings another larger issue because that was like one of my main, email addresses I pay my bills and stuff with. So got to
Same.
address that as a whole side issue. But it brings up additional awareness that like you were saying earlier, nobody is safe. Like everybody's email, consider it compromised.
Mm-hmm.
And in this scenario, that's where I made the mistake, is that it got hacked somewhere else in the world. Like you said, somebody bought my information and then just threw it in a bot and let it crunch the numbers and brute force the password. And on those web wallets, like you're saying, because it's essentially attacking the blockchain, it's not attacking Zelcore. It's actually attacking the wallet itself. So D2FA doesn't matter in that instance, right? D2FA just protects your installation on Zelcore locally, and then when it's reinstalled and reestablished on another machine. So if somebody gets the username and password, they can't log into it in Zelcore without that D2FA piece, but they may be able to brute force it somewhere else.
Yeah, because that's it's a user interface piece that we put in for like an extra level of security. The
Yeah.
problem, if you have the seed phrase, which really is your username and password, I mean, and in your case, with them owning your email address, that's 50% of your private key. So
Mhm.
what I did was I ran the numbers real quick to find out how long it would take if that username was, like 11 characters, uppercase, lowercase, dollar signs, ampersands, whatever, ats, and then you did the same for your username. It's about a quadrillion chance that they can brute force it. I mean, it's like ridiculously, it's astronomical. And I can give you the exact number, but it blew my mind. If you get that down to 4 digits, so if they have your email address and your password is a combination of another password that you've
Mhm.
used somewhere in your lifetime, right? They now have that down to, let's say, 4 to 5 characters. Well, that's about 10,000 to 25,000 different combinations that they can go through. And now compute resources are fairly easy to get,
Mhm.
and cramming one and brute forcing it's going to become easier as it goes. I mean, like, you have to take. So what would I rather have, the quadrillion or the, I don't know, it may be billions, right? But long story short is trillions, whatever it is, it's a shit ton. Whereas over here, you literally have 10 to 20,000 combinations, and they're in. And then
Mhm.
once they'll just, and that's why a lot of people see their Flux drained, but not their other assets,
Mhm.
because they have to go through that process again for other blockchains. So they're going for what they know. And there are lists that, people have hacked and kind of co-matched and said, okay, here's 1 million addresses, have at it. And then they just go through ones that they think that they know. And they see somebody like you they see somebody like you that they know is famous, and once they've associated with yours, you become a target. you
Mhm.
know so I always split my wallets up. I have probably 5 or 6 of them total.
Okay.
If I have one that's compromised, they're not going to compromise all 5, they're going to compromise one. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's risk mitigation is what it comes down to. And what we're doing on the Zelcore side to try to make this nicer is we are getting ready to release the 24 phrase uh, private keys. He wants to use those. Um, I'm not going to sit here and say that's any more secure, because we have people that take pictures of their seed phrases on their phones.
Mhm.
We had a guy text and left it, unencrypted on a cloud server. And guess what they did? Scan the cloud server, and I got your private key.
Mhm.
So, and him for 150,000 flux. He knew what it was as soon as it happened. He's like, son of a bitch, he should have encrypted it. Again, that's something else that I recommend. Encrypt whatever it is that you're putting your private keys on. It just makes sense. Um, when it's in Zelcore, it's encrypted on the device. So, like I said, we hold no information. So, username and password that you're using is actually your seed phrase to log in. There are other projects that they'll use somewhat similar to that, and they may link it, but we are going to add some other features. So the 24 phrase, we have 12 right now, we're moving to 24. We are also going to move the username and password to recognize email addresses and say, no way, homie, don't use this. You
Mm,
know, we're learning. The one variable we found working with yours is that we can kind of block that at the outset. We would have to remove the @ sign as a
mm,
character because it would detect that. So the @ sign would be what it detects and says, hey, this is an email address. We're not going to use this. Um, so there are some things we can do on our side to clean it up and tighten it up a little bit better. And these are the things we learn when we go into a bull market,
yeah.
because these are the times it starts to show up, right?
Mm.
Nobody's really messing with shit in a down cycle. Yeah, they may get hacked, you may see a hack here and there, but in the up cycle, it's on like Donkey Kong, man. Like, you got to be ready for.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So having, putting your seed phrases and like passwords and wallet addresses and stuff in a Excel spreadsheet and keeping it on OneDrive, you're just asking for trouble. They're just
Yeah,
going to scrape that data and you're really going to be fucked.
yeah.
And like you said, putting it in multiple wallets is a fantastic best practice. I mean, I have multiple bank accounts. I keep fiat over here in like my day to day, account, and I've got savings over here, and it's not all in one lump sum. So same kind of strategy, right?
I think that what you should do, it took me about 2 days to get all my stuff together from
Mm,
beginning. And I just scheduled 2 days off. I took PTO, told the guys, hey, I'm taking 2 days off. I got to get my shit squared away. And I spent 2 days. I went through, made new wallets, moved funds, locked everything down, sharded, EMP if it was on a flash drive, because some of them are on flash drives, other ones are not. EMP protection is important, things like that if you're going to use a hard wallet. And at the end of it, I could sleep at night knowing that I did everything I could to make sure that my wallet won't be compromised. And, you know, um, Zelcore is unbelievably secure, but it's only as secure as you are. So
mm,
that's the key, is I have to have good practices. We had a guy that was storing all his private keys in LastPass. So, and then his LastPass account got pwned, and guess what happened? I
mhm.
guess you could figure that one out. So, I mean, most of that, and they keep getting more creative. I mean, it used to be like you knew who the scammers were. Somebody would come in and be like, "Oh, I'd be here to help you." It was foreign. It was like,
Yeah.
that's. Dude, they get so creative now that I swear to God that you really just don't know. So what I always tell people is Zelcore never reaches out to you ever, effing ever. We never reach out to you. And, but if you reach out to us and we respond, we're going to respond from an official account. We're not going to come to you from, some bizarre help desk account that's not linked to us. So if it doesn't have run on flux.io.com, it is not us. Zelcore's website is zelcore.io. It's not zelcore.com. We
Mm,
actually have a person who owns zelcore.com spoof our site and try to get people's stuff that way. And we've had to lobby to have it taken down. We've had people create exact clones of the website. Like, you would not, if I
mm.
land, it looked identical to our website. So you got to make sure you always go to the correct, and make sure there's no redirects, because a lot of times with malware they can do redirects and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
what it comes down to is this: all hacks are preventable, but you have to start just like building a house. You don't build the roof before you do the foundation, right?
Mhm.
Foundation comes first, you build up from there, and the roof covers it all. And the roof in this case is your wallet. The foundation is the environment that you use for compute. So if you're a heavy gamer, here's the other area where we see issues. Gamers download cheats, they download codes, they download cracks, they download all this shit, and guess what happens? You know, we make a joke of it with Flux, because there's this game that people come in and they're like Roblox, I think it is, and they made a hack, and the hack was called Flux Us. And we've had probably no less than 500 people come into our Discord asking for the file for Flux Us. So you can only imagine, if these are cracked files, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a password crack to crack
Mhm.
the file. Those people have crypto. They're about to get shit mixed. because all it takes is an injection. And by the way, some of the malware and spyware nowadays, you don't even know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very specific. It's not destructive anymore. It's very targeted. It looks for crypto wallets. It looks for private information, usernames and passwords. Look at the Ledger leak where, 275,000 Ledger users, emails and passwords leak. Now, what if I had a Ledger and that username and password that I used for Ledger was the same one that I used for Zelcore? Well, now I'm double fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So every wallet should look different from itself.
Mm-hmm. Totally, yeah. That definitely makes sense. And so let me go back to something, because you keep saying that Zelcore is safe. The wallet itself is safe and the application is safe. And I have no reason not to believe you, but are there have there been independent audits, like security audits, of your system? And
Oh, yeah, we
okay.
do. We have we have a very robust CVE reporting. We have internal audits. We have external audits. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to go through another audit here within the next, I don't know, month and a half or something like that. I mean, these are things you have to do
Mhm.
at a company to make sure that things are, tip top. Um, but the only way that really Zelcore could be breached, because we're using HD wallets, um, is you'd have to breach the blockchain, essentially, or have a user that basically gives you username and password and access to their accounts. So, we take every step. And by the way, we get all of our products audited, every single one of them. From Zelcore to SSP. We're even Echo wallet, which we just picked up. We're going to have that audited. It's going to go through the process as well. So, I can tell you this: my wallet is Zelcore, and I will never change. And I've been in this space long enough to be unbelievably comfortable with where I'm at. But it took me the better part of 4 years, because I got into crypto in 2011, the end of 2011, going into 2012.
Mm.
I lost 250 Bitcoin on a drive that took a shit. I mean, you just do this stuff. It's an expensive learning curve. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Every time kids want to mess with me, they put 250 and multiply it by the price of Bitcoin, and they're like, ah! And I'm like, shut that up. But that's how Zelcore was born, because I was using these, I was downloading these, wallets, the wallets they used to have that were like the UI blue, and none of it
Mm.
worked right half the time. And we had Zelmate, which was at least a little bit better. Web wallets, stuff like that. And when I lost that Bitcoin, I was like, we've got to do something better for people so that they don't have this situation. So the way that it used to be back then, even now, is way, way better. But we're going to have to get back to best practices. That's for sure.
So what can Zelcore users out there now do? Because you can't change the password. It's already created, right? You can't go through and change the username on an account. You have to set up a new account, or what can people do to stay safe?
Well, it would be like trying to change your private key and public key on Bitcoin. It just doesn't work like that. You'd have to create a new Zelcore account. Uh, my recommendation is buy a nice little computer. Hell, they had some at Black Friday that were, I think they were like $299 with Windows. And I bring them home. I yank the hard drives, throw those away. I put new hard drives in, format it multiple times. Then I'll set up air gapped, turn off the Wi-Fi, and then hook it up hardline for my first go. And then I'll get everything set up, get my private keys dumped, start to shard. And then that wallet, once it's sharded, I'll keep that computer and I'll put it in a safe somewhere or whatever it is. But I'm not worried about that computer at that point, because
Mm.
my computer is encrypted, it's air gapped. Nothing is going to happen at that point. You'd have to have that private key to access this. Find what username and password was Zelcore. So yeah, and I just recommend don't use that computer for anything else. Like computers are cheap enough, guys, and if you can't afford a computer, get a little tablet. They can work just as well. You got to get the bloatware off of everything. That's the only problem is they put basically canned spyware out of the gate on most of these computers. So highly
Yeah.
recommend when you get a computer, get another hard drive and blow it out before you ever put anything on there. And then once you've done that, you're rock solid. I use like a 13-letter username and a 15-letter password, all totally unique with, different uh, uppercase, lowercase,
Hmm.
symbol, 9 yards. And then you're good. So you're in the quadrillion club then, right? So, or the trillion club, whatever it is. Um, you're in that club, and then your stuff is safe. But I mean, we've got to get used to see the mindset of people are if something messes up, like you said earlier, I have 5 bank accounts. If one of those bank accounts messes up, you call somebody on the phone and say, "Hey, I was supposed to get $500 in this account. It's not there. It's over." Okay, we'll fix that. It goes back over. Get a charge back. Somebody steals your credit card. We're used to these creature comforts, and crypto doesn't offer those. You
Hmm.
know, and if they do, then they have a highly centralized component to it. So you have to make a decision very early on. Do I want to invest in crypto to have decentralization, privacy, and freedom, or do I want to trade shitcoins? Because if I want to trade shitcoins, there's no need to do any of this stuff, right? Cash it out, keep it on an exchange, do whatever you got to do. Because most people that are doing this over here are not going to use best practices anyway. I
Hmm.
mean, most people are on exchange. Most people don't give a shit about it. They just want number go up. But if you want it for the freedom and the safety, security, the privacy, then you're going to have to take some extra steps to make sure you become your own support network.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I think we touched on just about everything with the Zelcore with my account and my hack. And Dan, thank you for coming on with me today. I really appreciate your time. But while I have you, let me ask you a few things about Flux and what's on the roadmap. What kind of new things can we expect from the project? I know Proof of Useful Work has its own path, and you guys are rocking and rolling there. I've asked you every time I talk to you, what about Project Mayhem? What else is on the roadmap here?
Well, mayhem is coming. What's really coming right now is we released our APIs, so they're in closed beta right now. They'll go into open beta within the next couple weeks, and people can basically use Flux AI in a business setting.
Hmm.
We've been talking with a lot of folks in healthcare and other areas that they need a solution for that. Edge is coming out of alpha, moving directly to beta. We're adding a crap ton of features to Edge, invoicing,
Hmm.
reoccurring, dedicated rentals, business components, all kinds of good stuff there. And that comes this year, Q4. It'll be in December. And then we're also working on a complete revamp of everything on the website, on all of our platforms. And here's the other one: we're launching our own exchange, which is
Hmm.
pretty amazing. Most people
Really?
don't know about this yet because we've kept it super hush hush. But Fusion Exchange will launch this month in beta, and that's going to be basically allow you to use a web GUI, so you don't have to
Hmm.
go into. You can go into Zelcore if you want, but it's web GUI, and it'll tie coin requests. It'll tie Zelcore, SSP, Echo, and everything together. And now you can buy, sell, trade. We'll have trading view integrated to it, so you can map and
Hmm.
chart. So our goal is to build a better mousetrap. We're going to list every proof of work project out there. We're going to make sure everyone has representation and the ability for people to purchase it. I'm tired of large exchanges sitting on their hands and listing shit coins and meme coins instead of going after real positive projects. And I'm
Mhm.
going to change. I called Brian Armstrong out this week and said, Coinbase is not a serious exchange. It just isn't. When you list meme coins and turn down projects like Caspa, Flux, Alethium, the list goes on and on.
Hmm.
Real product building, real use case, and they turn their back on that and they go a different route and start to list shit coins. Hell, Kraken is even way better than them. And a matter of fact, I actually really like the Kraken team. And they're forward thinking. And guess what? They're not scared to list a proof of work project. Caspa just got added there recently. We got
Hmm.
our futures added here. So, it is what it is. So I think Flux Exchange will definitely bring a paradigm shift to the space. We want to keep fees low. We're going to incentivize people for holding Flux. So if you hold Flux, your fees are even lower than that.
Hmm.
And you figure it out as well. So we'll have a little plus version where you'll pay no fees. You just pay a flat fee, once a month, and you pay no fees, or you can just do it as you need it. And that'll tie into all the major exchanges. It'll have connections to um, Uphold, uh, Simple Swap, Changely, all these different
Hmm.
platforms to work with. And it's just,
Yeah.
we're doing pulling everything together, making it nice and super easy to use, pulls best price exchanges, and it allows you to basically buy, sell, and trade. So, we're really excited for it. I tried to buy Trade Ogre years ago. They wouldn't sell it to me. So I was like, one of these days I'm going to build my own. And I did. So cool
That's
stuff.
fantastic. Wow. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. Wow. No shit. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Um,
And the nice thing about it is it all runs on Flux. It's all powered by Flux. So,
hmm.
we took it a step further. This is kind of the gap between centralized exchanges and DeFi because we're using both of them in this. And
Hmm.
then as we continue to grow, we'll grow more toward DeFi and we'll phase out the centralized exchanges down the road. We're working with Coin Metro too. They're going to be one of the providers on the backside as well. So, you know, our goal is to take the best projects and proof of work. Um, no piping hot shit coins, only good stuff, and making sure that they have a place that they can list immediately. People can get liquidity immediately. And it also ties our other products, Flux Core, Zelcore, all these products that we've created will all tie together so it makes one symbiotic ecosystem.
I look forward to it. That's fantastic. Good deal. And I know a lot of the community, pretty much all of the mining community, look forward to it as well. Especially,
We
yeah,
build it for we build it for miners. I
good.
mean, facts. Like I like people that participate in blockchain, but the miners are what makes the world go around for us. So we saw a problem, major issue. Um, and there is there's some things going on behind the scenes too. I'm not going to be silent with projects like Coinbase that are have these nefarious listing processes. um, and I think it's time we start speaking out as leaders in the community and
Mm,
ask for something better than what we're getting, because
mm.
we're not getting. And if Brian Armstrong is going to be the guy that helps lead Trump, they need to understand that this isn't blockchain. Your meme coins are not blockchain. So fucking stop it.
Yeah, stop it.
No, I would just like to tell anyone that has questions, feel free to come into Discord and ask the questions. Don't wait till it all went wrong and then show up. Come in. We'll point you in the right direction. I wrote a nice little post that I put in our announcements. I also pinned it in our support page, best practices for, it basically walks through step by step what to do. It also, you can add a YubiKey to Zelcore, which gives you your full, kind of like 2FA.
Wait,
So
what?
yeah, you can add a YubiKey to
No
Zelcore.
shit.
Yeah, I have instructions. So you should check that out. And that
Yeah,
and by the way, I use a YubiKey as well. It just makes sense, right? So
wish
um,
I'd have known that. Yeah, I got two of them right down here. Fuck.
just did it like I don't
Yeah.
know 6 or 7 months ago. So,
Oh,
but
okay. Well, yeah.
now you know. So the directions are there. If you have questions, if anybody has any questions and they need help getting it set up, come to us and let us, a trusted person, help you with the process. Don't say I need help and take the first DM that pops up, because that's not going to work. And never, ever, ever give out your username and password. Ever, 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 ever. Not even in a fire. Don't do it. So yeah,
Good deal.
that's where we're at. I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Thank you, Dan. That was a great conversation between myself and Dan. A couple of things I wanted to reiterate on here. If you want to keep your funds in Zelcore and continue using that application, it's recommended to stand up a new wallet. Use the seed phrase login type. And of course, best practices with that, put it on a virtual machine or a desktop that stays offline, that you do nothing else with. Even if you're using other crypto wallets, you don't necessarily want to put all of those on one machine. Dan mentioned at the end of the call, you can use a YubiKey for authentication with Zelcore. I had no idea about this. And if you have an opportunity to use that, fucking do it. Turn 2FA on everything you can, on all the accounts in your life. Freeze your credit. Yeah, you can do that. Really, what it comes down to is security is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time thing.